Namaste Yogis. Today's class is Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. I'm sure you've heard of it before. It is one of the most common poses in a vinyasa flow. It's a resting pose. And as I mentioned in the last class, you can always take child's pose if downward facing dog is not comfortable for you. But downward facing dog does become a rest pose once your body becomes adjusted to it. So I do want to show you a few different variations because I have noticed a common occurrence that a certain misalignment that certain people have. So first is hands and feet. You want to have your fingers spread really wide, super wide, and take them in general to start shoulder distance apart. Press through the base of each finger, especially through the bottom, the base of the index finger and the thumb, and that will take some of the pressure off of the wrist. Then we want to flip our toes under, keep the feet about hip distance apart, and then press our hips all the way up to the sky. So this is the most common misalignment that I see, where the head is not between the biceps, so it's more of like a square shape rather than a triangle shape, basically, is the best way to describe it. So what I want for you to try to do is I want you to get a picture of yourself in downward facing dog and see how it looks in your body, and that way you can decide which modification is the best for you. Okay? So take your fingers hands shoulder hip distance apart, fingers spread super wide. And then take your feet up, come up onto your toes, bend the knees deeply, and again I see this where the hips drop. Bend the knees deeply, but then lift the hips and press the heart back towards your thighs. That will bring your head in between your biceps, and that'll create more of a triangle shape. From here, if your shoulders are really tight, you can take your hands wider than shoulder distance apart, if that helps you to get a better stretch, if that feels more comfortable to you. And if your back is tight, your hamstrings are tight, you can take your legs wider than hip distance apart, and maybe that will help bring your hip points higher and allow you to find more space along the spine. So the goal in downward facing dog is to have a straight back, not a rounded back, but a straight back with your hips as high as they can go towards the back corner of the room. And that generally means that your head will come between your biceps. And if your knees need to be really bent, that's perfectly all right. So as you bend them, lift the hips higher and press your chest back towards your thighs. And over time, you can play with straightening one leg and then the other. Maybe both legs, maybe both heels will eventually come onto the mat if your hamstrings loosen to that degree, but if they don't, that's perfectly all right too. Externally rotate your biceps, internally rotate your triceps, rotate your inner thighs towards the back of the mat, even if your legs are bent. Shoulders relax away from the ears, so relax your traps to create more space around your ears. And this is a gentle inversion that will create more space between the vertebrae, will decompress the spine, stretches the hamstrings, stretches the back, relaxes the body and the mind by activating the parasympathetic nervous system. It's just all around an amazing pose, but you have to work on getting that alignment right. So keep the legs bent as long as you need to, and slowly play with stretching the hamstrings one at a time, over time. Take your hands wider than the mat, take your feet wider than the mat. Yogi's choice. Just find a place that is comfortable for you. And keep playing with it, keep coming back to it. And I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. We got to hang out with Honey a little bit. And I'll see you tomorrow for the next one. Namaste.